Vietnam was trailing for Olympic gold in the final two shots. Then Hoang Xuan Vinh fired a 10.7 on the last shot, winning the country's first Olympic gold and setting a new record. The scene was the men's 10-meter air pistol final at the 2016 Rio Olympics. With two shots remaining, Xuan Vinh faced Brazil's Felipe Almeida Wu in a head-to-head fight for gold. Other finalists had already been eliminated, leaving the medal race between them. Before the penultimate shot, Xuan Vinh led 182.6 to 181.8. He then scored 9.2 while Almeida Wu answered with 10.2, turning that lead into a 0.2-point deficit. Wu shot first in the final exchange, posting 10.1. Xuan Vinh had one attempt left and his 10.7 pushed him past the Brazilian at the exact moment gold was decided. His final score was 202.5 points, a new Olympic record under the format introduced in 2013. It also gave Vietnam its first Olympic gold medal in Olympic history. The same Rio Olympics also brought him a silver in the 50-meter pistol, but this was Vietnam's historic first. More than 50 women in New Caledonia enlisted for a Free French regiment during World War II, yet only two ultimately served, Raymond Jor and Raymond Roly. Their effort connected to the Corps of French Female Volunteers, founded by the Free French in the United Kingdom on 7 November 1940. Initially called the Female Corps, it began with 26 women in clerical and secretarial roles, intended to free male personnel for frontline units. The organization did not remain a small office corps. In November 1941, it was renamed and formally integrated into the Free French Forces, marking an institutional change beyond its original formation. Its scale changed sharply. By July 1943, the Corps had reached 430 women, far beyond its original 26. The figure was more than 16 times its starting size. It was disbanded in May 1944. That broader expansion still did not change the New Caledonian outcome documented here. Among more than 50 volunteers, the only two identified as ultimately serving were Raymond Jor and Raymond Roly. Anicetti Kaitreza finished a novel in Cairo in 1945. Walter B. Goya received its manuscript in 1974 and helped publish it nearly 35 years later. The manuscript waited almost a generation before becoming a book. Cairo was Kaitreza's mother tongue, but it was an endangered language. Publishers would not finance a novel written in it, leaving the completed work without a publishing path. The barrier was access to financing, not the absence of a finished manuscript. Kaitreza translated the manuscript into Kiswahili himself. In April 1974, B. Goya received a copy while leading Tanzania Publishing House and agreed to publish it. Kiswahili gave the manuscript a route into Tanzania's publishing system. The manuscript was edited, then printed in 2 volumes in China. Ford Foundation funding covered the printing costs, turning approval into a physical edition. Ford Foundation funding made overseas printing possible. Advance copies reached Dar es Salaam in 1981. In 2002, B. Goya's own company, Mkuki na Mayotte, published an English translation extending the novel's reach. Readers finally received the long-delayed 2-volume work. Champa left written inscriptions. Those records mostly describe kings, priests, and religious matters, not ordinary people in its coastal cities and valleys. Those communities occupied coastal valleys in central and southern Vietnam. Their lives were oriented toward the sea, with people navigating, trading, and fishing. They also moved goods and ideas through maritime connections, making the sea a practical center of community life. Stone inscriptions were official records created to proclaim authority and support religious institutions. Their subjects were ruling dynasties, royal power, temples, and matters of worship. They were composed for public authority, not household description. That leaves little evidence about free peasants or artisans. The record does mention temple slaves, including prisoners of war and villagers serving at temples. So historians cannot read these stones as a diary of daily Cam life. They must reconstruct ordinary experience around an elite-centered record, where villagers appear mainly through temple service. Even when a village appears, it may identify a claimant's local connection rather than describe household routines. South Yemen did not become a communist state at independence. 2 years later, a left-wing National Front takeover transformed the divided new country. South Yemen had gained independence from Britain on 30 November 1967. Its ruling National Front soon split between a capitalist right wing and a socialist left wing. The Fourth General Congress met in Zanzibar from 2 to 8 March 1968. There, the left won a majority in the front's 41-member General Command. That institutional advantage created a route to change leadership, rather than reducing the shift to one person's coup. On 22 June 1969, President Cotton al-Shabai and his cabinet were removed. Abdel Fattah Ismail and Salim Rubia Ali led the new left-wing leadership, consolidating the takeover. The transfer followed factional conflict inside the National Front, not a single-person coup. The consequences moved beyond leadership. The state nationalized institutions, built schools and universities, and made education freely accessible. Its family law was framed around equality between men and women. The reforms reached public ownership, education, and family life. An exiled Sakalava monarch eventually transferred Mayotte to France for an annual pension. Andriantsouly had ruled Iboina in northwestern Madagascar before Marina forces captured Majunga in 1824. He fled to Zanzibar, returned after Raidama died in 1828, and was deposed again in 1832. He then fled with followers to Mayotte and seized control of the island from its sultan. The approved record ends with the reversal. An exiled monarch sold Mayotte to France for an annual pension. 4 U.S. Army personnel were entrusted with Schloss Friedrichshof after World War II. They took valuables hidden inside, estimated at $36 million in 2021 value. The House of Hesse owned jewelry, gold tableware, family Bibles, and snuff boxes. On October 31, 1944, staff inventoried the collection, wrapped it, and buried it beneath concrete behind a false wall. American forces reached the castle in March 1945 and made it an officers' club. Nash managed its mess and contents. In November, the hidden box was found and moved to her room. Nash informed Jack Durrant, who asked David Watson to research rules on abandoned German property. On November 8, the three met over the packages. They considered keeping a few pieces, then decided to take everything. The discovery was reported, but the valuables were not returned. In 1946, Nash, Durrant, and Watson were arrested. Carleton testified and avoided trial. Nash received 5 years, Watson 3, and Durrant 15 years of hard labor. Over half the jewels and most precious metals were never recovered. Juventus Women were champions of Italy in every one of their first 5 years. The club is based in Turin, in Piedmont, Italy, as the women's section of Juventus Football Club. It was established in 2017. Its creation followed the acquisition of Cuneo's sporting license. From that 2017 beginning came an uninterrupted 5-year run as Italian champions.